So we are going to be, as I said, covering the New York State Climate Smart Communities Program and My Coast New York in this session. So I am going to start out with a opening poll just to get a sense of who's joining us and your level of knowledge about Climate Smart Communities Program. So you can join this Mentimeter poll by clicking the link that I'm going to put in the chat and joining this Mentimeter poll. Maybe you should be able to see this. Let me know if you have issues, or you can scan the QR code on the screen. And so the question we want to ask, is your municipality participating in New York State Climate Smart Communities?
Sarah, I don't know if it's just me, but I'm seeing the question about My Coast.
Oh. Huh.
I'm seeing the one with climate. I'm seeing the one with Climate Smart Communities. So
you are. Wonder. Oh, now I'm seeing Climate Smart Communities.
Okay.
Okay.
Great. Thank you for letting me know that maybe wasn't showing up correctly. Okay, so please take time to answer this question. All right, so seeing some results coming in. So some of you have registered. Some of you are certified, which is fantastic. Some of you have not participated at all. Some of you are interested, and some of you don't know. And that's okay. Looks like we do have a lot of people who are, unsure if their community is participating. So I think you're in the right place. So thanks for filling that out. And you should still be able to answer as I click to the next slide. And I am going to let Sophie start us off.
Thank you, Sarah, and hi, everyone. My name is Sophie DiTomaso, and I'm the Resilience and Adaptation Coordinator at Hudson Valley Regional Council. And for this part of the presentation, I'll be presenting with Mary Lambert, who's the Climate Action Planning Manager at HVRC, and Sarah Orrell, who works on the New York State Climate Smart Communities Program for the Downstate region at IMEG. And so today we're really excited to be presenting on opportunities to advance resiliency planning in your communities through the New York State Climate Smart Communities Program. So throughout this presentation, we'll walk through relevant aspects of the Climate Smart Communities Program. We'll highlight tools that can help you and support you in this work. We'll discuss the services that are offered through our respective organizations. And then we're excited to share a case study of resiliency work in action. And so we can move to the next slide. The New York State Climate Smart Communities Program is a New York State program, and it's really designed to support communities to both mitigate and adapt to climate change. And this is a program that's sponsored by multiple agencies within New York State, and it's really structured around actions that communities can complete to further their climate action planning efforts. So these actions span various topics, which the program calls pledge elements. And some examples of those actions cover topics like lowering energy use, aligning land use with climate goals, and furthering community resilience. And so in order to participate in the program, communities first pass a resolution, and after they do that, they become a registered community. By completing more actions, communities can earn points towards certification levels. At this point, there's two, either bronze or silver. And beyond setting communities on a path to mitigate and adapt to climate change, completing these actions also helps increase competitiveness for grant funding through the Climate Smart Communities Program. So this program is open to both counties and municipalities, and they can participate. And the program provides lots of guidance and resources to support communities doing this work on the local level. With that, we can move to the next slide. So to illustrate how this program works, I'm going to dive deeper into the resiliency portion of the program. And so within the Climate Smart Communities Program, all the actions that are designated as Pledge Element 7 actions or PE7 actions are geared towards improving community resilience. Next slide. Within Pledge Element 7, there are 21 actions communities can take to further their resilience. Next slide. Like creating a climate vulnerability assessment to assess climate hazards and vulnerable assets, evaluating existing policies for climate resiliency measures using an inventory-based tool to assess how and if resilience is incorporated into existing plans. Next slide. And producing a climate adaptation plan to outline concrete recommendations for furthering adaptation. And next slide. So New York State has a recommended template that combines these first 3 actions into a holistic assessment and plan. The template is called the Climate Change Adaptation and Resiliency Plan, or the CCARP template, and it includes a plan outline with recommended sections and subsections, guidance, sample language, resources, and recommended steps to help guide communities in their planning efforts. So key elements of the CCARP template include things like a local government commitment, a list of key terms and definitions, a place narrative that dives into some community characteristics, a climate vulnerability assessment, a section on scenario planning, which is a narrative-based stakeholder engagement strategy, and a climate adaptation plan that includes a list of recommended actions with a monitoring and evaluation strategy, as well as an implementation strategy. And the completed CCARP template serves as both a climate vulnerability assessment and as a climate adaptation plan. And for communities that are interested, an optional step in completing the CCARP template includes the Evaluate Policies for Climate Resilience credit as part of this project as well. So this is really a great template and a great resource for getting started on these 3 foundational steps of resiliency planning within the Climate Smart Communities program. Next slide. So if you're interested in learning more about these or any of the Climate Smart Communities actions, consider visiting the Climate Smart Communities website. I put a link on this slide, and there are really a large number of resources that can be found under the actions and certification pages to help you get started. Next slide. By clicking on the action pages, you can learn in-depth information about the requirements, recommended steps, resources, and the point values that are assigned to the different actions and how they can help you towards certification levels. So for tips on navigating the Climate Smart Communities portal, we also have a video series through the Hudson Valley Regional Council that you're welcome to visit. And there's a link on this slide as well. Next slide. And then we also just wanted to highlight one other tool that can help you in this work. And this is called the Climate Smart Communities Crosswalk tool. This is a tool that's based out of the New York Sea Grant program, and it's designed to help identify potential synergies between the Climate Smart Communities actions and other New York State programs. So it's particularly focused on water-related programs, and the tool highlights 6 components of 6 different types of projects in New York State and how and if these components can overlap with the Climate Smart Communities actions. So there's resources available for plans like hazard mitigation plans, the community rating system, the Coastal Erosion Hazard Areas Communities Program, the Drinking Water Source Protection Program, the Local Waterfront Revitalization Program, and the Municipal Separate Stormwater Sewer System Program. So it's really a great resource to understand how the Climate Smart Communities program can overlap with other planning efforts that you might already be working on within your communities. Next slide. And so to highlight, I think back one, perfect, thank you. So to highlight how the tool works, I've included a PDF of a portion of the crosswalk tool for hazard mitigation plans. And this PDF tool really is trying to show the overlaps between the Climate Smart Communities program and other plans and programs. So in this case, a hazard mitigation plan. So in the left-hand columns, you'll see a list of Climate Smart Communities actions, and each subsequent column indicates a requirement for the hazard mitigation planning process. And so the tool is designed to indicate how and if those requirements overlap with the requirements from the Climate Smart Communities program. So you'll notice that there's both green and brown check marks on this tool. A green check mark indicates that by completing the hazard mitigation plan, the corresponding Climate Smart Communities certification action can also be completed with, quote, little to no extra effort, whereas the brown check marks indicate that the Climate Smart Communities action can be completed, quote, under certain conditions and or with some extra effort. And then in addition to these program-specific tools, which follow this format, there's also 2 additional types of guidance documents available through the Crosswalk tool. So the Crosswalk tool includes a summary table that provides high-level guidance on the number of relevant Climate Smart Communities actions across program types, as well as surveys that are designed to help align planning efforts across the Climate Smart Communities program and these 6 project areas as previously described. And then next slide. So in the next section of this presentation, I'm going to discuss some of the ways that Hudson Valley Regional Council as an organization can help support communities in our region, the Mid-Hudson region, with the Climate Smart Communities program, before turning it over to Sarah to discuss how IMEG can support in her region. Next slide, please. But first, some context. HVRC is one of 10 regional planning organizations in New York State. We work with the 7 counties in our region: Dutchess, Orange, Putnam, Rockland, Sullivan, Ulster, and Westchester. We work to help municipalities to access and understand information and grants from the state and federal level. And we also provide technical assistance on environmental and sustainability programs, economic development, materials management, and water resources. Our programmatic areas are funded by funding sources like NYSERDA, the Department of Environmental Conservation, the EDA, and the EPA. So you're more than welcome to reach out to our staff about any of these program areas. And also, this work would not be possible without annual support from our county government members who help contribute to our organization as well. Next slide. So what role does HVRC play in supporting the Climate Smart Communities program and in resiliency planning? Hudson Valley Regional Council is really here to assist with the Climate Smart Communities registration and certification. We can help you get registered and get started, and we can also help you along the way with your certification reviews. So we provide support on an ad hoc basis to communities that are interested in accessing our resources. And you're also welcome to reach out to us at any point to ask questions about the process or to set up a meeting to learn about our program. And you can see a list of some of our capabilities on this slide. Next slide. We can also support communities more specifically with resiliency actions. So we currently have grant funding to produce 2 county-level climate vulnerability and adaptation plans for counties in the Mid-Hudson using that CCARP template that I previously described. So we're currently working with Putnam County as our first county in this project, and then we'll work with 1 additional county once this work is complete. We can also provide technical assistance on any of the actions in the Climate Smart Communities program, including the Pledge Element 7 actions that are focused on climate resilience, but we can also support with any of the actions in the program, both resilience and more mitigation focused. So please feel free to contact us about any of the actions within the Climate Smart Communities program. Next slide. And we're really excited in the Mid-Hudson region to have seen a lot of success with communities participating in this program. We currently have 61 registered communities in the Mid-Hudson. 59 of those are bronze certified communities and 14 are silver certified communities. And so if you're interested in a breakdown by county, we also have that breakdown available on this slide. And next slide, please. And I'm going to turn this presentation over to Sarah in just a moment, but I also wanted to quickly provide some info on the Climate Smart Communities program and HVRC and put some faces to names. So my colleague Mary, who will be presenting later, is the Climate Action Planning Manager at HVRC. Mary works on Climate Smart Communities technical assistance and also leads HVRC's landfill biofilter project. I'm the Resilience and Adaptation Coordinator. I provide technical assistance on the resiliency portion of the Climate Smart Communities program. And our colleagues Liz Sun and Eleanor Peck also provide Climate Smart Communities support, but they're more focused on the mitigation side of the program and also do a lot of work with the Clean Energy Communities program in the state as well. So with that, I'll turn it over to Sarah to talk more about climate smart resiliency planning in the Long Island region.
Thank you, Sophie. Apologies for my voice, and if I have a coughing fit, it's just one of those days. A lot of what I'm going to go over overlaps with what Sophie just presented, but there are some elements that are specific to the Long Island region, and let's go. Next slide, please. So our downstate team is structured a little differently than the HVRC team. So at the top you have IMEG. We are the primary downstate consultant for Climate Smart Communities as well as the NYSERDA Clean Energy Communities program. IMEG is a full-service engineering and planning firm located in Woodbury on Long Island. And you may know our previous name, Cameron Engineering, but we've recently, in the past couple of years, merged into IMEG. From the beginning of our work on the Climate Smart Communities program, I think it was back in 2012, the program's inception, we've partnered with the Sustainability Institute at Malloy University. So the Sustainability Institute is known for hosting many events around clean energy, um, energy efficiency, as well as resilience and adaptation, writing white papers, and pulling together stakeholders from across the region to discuss many issues that impact the region. So we have Andrew Mannett from Sustainability Institute at Malloy University, who works as one of our Climate Smart Communities coordinators, and then Neil Lewis, the director, is involved with the program as well. We are partnered with the Cornell Cooperative Extension and ICLEI for our adaptation and resilience planning reports, which I'll talk about a little bit later. Titanium Links is doing some CPRG outreach, which is part of the Climate Smart Communities contract. And Island Guide is going to be working on a Long Island specific Climate Smart website, which is under construction, but believe me, you'll get my mass emails once it goes live. Next slide, please. So again, these are the same items that Sophia that mentioned, and so we could help you with all elements from registration to certification, everything in the Climate Smart Communities program. We're here to answer all of your questions. All of our support is free to your municipality. You could think of us as an extension of your staff. We're here to add sorry, my brain is not working right now. We're here to add resources where they may not exist, especially for some of the smaller communities that have a lot of part-time staff. So please reach out if you have any questions with Climate Smart Communities, all the way from registration to certification. Next slide. As I mentioned, we are partnered with Cornell Cooperative Extension and ICLEI. We are going to be doing 6 adaptation plans for 6 communities here in the Long Island region over the next 3 years. And Cornell Cooperative Extension is leading that effort, and they are actually putting together 2 cohorts to do that work so that municipalities can work with each other through the process. Nobody knows what you're doing better than someone who's doing the same thing as you. So they're in the process of confirming the first cohort, but if you're interested in having support to do an adaptation plan for your community, please reach out to me, and I will put you in touch with the folks at Cornell Cooperative Extension to see if you could join the first cohort or maybe the second one. I believe the majority of the work is going to be starting in January, so there may still be time to be included in that first cohort. Aside from actual adaptation planning, Sophie mentioned how there's the climate vulnerability assessment and the evaluation, the tool to evaluate the policies for climate resilience. If you're not quite ready to do a full adaptation plan, our coordinators can still work with you to do those climate vulnerability assessments and those reviews of your current policies. So again, reach out if you have any interest at all dealing with any of these actions that we're talking about today. Please, next slide. So I also wanted to talk about 2 tools that are available on Long Island. So one of these was released within the last couple of weeks. Very excited about this one. It's the Long Island Economic Flood Risk Study that was performed by LIRPC and their consultant, I believe Lero did it. And what this does is it gives in-depth information about all, I'll say, commercial and institutional properties and their flood risk, not only based on their location, but also the economic impact that would be accrued if something were to happen to those properties based on flooding. The details are very granular, and it's an amazing tool. I still haven't even fully explored the tool yet. However, if you're excited in learning more, reach out to me and we could play with the tool together and learn all of this information. But this is a great way of realizing what the economic impact from a business perspective would be within your community if you were unfortunately flooded during a future storm event. the Long Island Road Stream and Tidal Crossing Prioritization Tool from the Nature Conservancy. Right now, it's just covering Suffolk County, but this helps prioritize which culverts and bridges you should look at potentially upgrading. It not only takes into account the flow of the water underneath, but also the flow of pedestrians and vehicles above. And based on the level of roadway, whether it is a main collector or it's just again, a pedestrian footpath, that could help you prioritize which culverts and bridges should be prioritized for upgrades and right sizing. Next slide. So here on Long Island, well, actually, our downstate region includes New York City. So we have 34 registered communities if you include New York City. We currently have 6 bronze certified communities. Unfortunately, we have 2 lapsed bronze communities. However, they are currently working on recertification, and fingers crossed we'll be resubmitting in January. And we currently have no silver certified communities, though I'm assuming that New York City is going to be silver certified when they submit in January. Suffolk County was previously silver certified, and we are working to try to get them back there as quickly as possible. Next slide. So downstate support for climate smart communities and clean energy communities. It's an overlapping team. So the 3 of us are coordinators who will work directly with you. If you're not sure who your coordinator is, please reach out to me. I believe our contact information is going to be provided on the following slide. I will put you in touch with either me, David, or Andrew to work on your climate smart communities and clean energy communities work. And just so you know, we are currently in the process of reviewing submittal actions for multiple communities, new communities, who are applying to climate smart community certification in the January session. So feel free to reach out if you would like us to review your potential submittal items as well. And I just do want to say one thing, since this is a New York specific group, and I know there's a lot of people here who are from community groups and not necessarily the municipality. It is possible to get certified as long as you have the support of your municipality, even if you do not work for the municipality. I'm going to give a shout out to Sag Harbor. While the village was very active in their certification, it was a volunteer who did the most heavy lift of the work there and got that village to be certified. So it is possible to still get certified, even if you are an active volunteer as opposed to an employee of a municipality. Thank you. And I'm going to kick it off to Mary.
Thank you, Sarah. So that is a great segue because like Sarah, I also was a volunteer for many years. In addition to my work with HVRC, I am a resident of the village of Hastings-on-Hudson in Lower Westchester. And as a past CSC task force member and trustee, I can definitely vouch for the fact that many volunteers do complete this work on behalf of their village. And that is a huge part of getting certified. So Sarah and Sophie and I thought it'd be useful for you all to hear a case study. So I agreed to tell you a little bit about our village of Hastings. Here you can see Hastings is on the Hudson River. You can see here the Hudson Line railroad tracks. They're only 1 to 2 feet above sea level. So it's definitely a concern from a sea level rise perspective. And in the distance, you can see New York skyscrapers about 30 miles away. So we're very close to city life as well. The village is 2.92 square miles and has a population of 8,590. It has a proud history of land protection planning and environmental stewardship going back to the 1940s. And more recently, the village passed the first ban on single-use plastic bags and foam food containers. And we are also proud to be the state leader in the CSC program, being silver certified with 558 points. Next slide, please. Great, thanks. So this is, I thought, a nice drone shot of the village from 2021, courtesy of the New York Times. And it gives you an idea of how significant the Hudson River is to our identity as a village. So we really take that into account in all the work we do. And you can't see as much in this picture, but the village is also very steep, which often exacerbates our flooding issues, which I'll talk a little bit more later. Next slide, please. So I thought I would share a little bit about our CSC work over a sustained 4-year arc to show you kind of how we got started, what we did, and why. So when we started planning our climate smart communities resilience strategy, we looked at several factors. First, we focused on what the CSC program considers a priority or a foundational action, and I've bolded those, are the first 3 on this list. And they're mainly research and planning efforts. And it made sense to us that evaluating our past policies, assessing local vulnerabilities, and talking to our residents about their priorities and vision was a good place to start. Some of the other factors we considered included initiatives that were currently underway, volunteer capabilities and interests, alignment with the board and mayor strategies, and whether funding was available. And I've starred the actions here that where funding is actually available. So again, we started in 2020 with this action called Evaluate Policies for Climate Resilience. This led to our climate vulnerability assessment and community developed climate resilient vision statement, all of which were really multi-year processes. But in conjunction to that, we wanted to get something done quickly. So we realized that doing a heat emergency plan and a shade structure policy were not only priorities of the community and the village board, but were relatively low-hanging fruit. So we completed these actions relatively quickly, which helped motivate the task force volunteers, since the other 3 actions at the top here were really multi-year, longer-term planning processes. And then in 2021, we worked with Westchester County to complete a hazard mitigation plan with sustainability elements, and that led to a culvert vulnerability identification and a right sizing project for our culverts in 2022. Then in 2023, the village decided to update its green building code. We'd received a number of complaints about our original code, which was really a one-off effort, and we wanted to adopt a more standardized approach and a more standardized code. So we created a committee staffed with some experienced landscape architects and engineers in the village. And we also at the same time created a demonstration project, a green roof at our pool, again, for educating our community. This helped get the word out about our work and to attract additional volunteers. Through the green building code discussions, in addition to some serious storms that included some flooding incidents in 2022 and 2023, the village decided to look more closely at riparian assessment. So we ID'd and prioritized sites for conservation and revegetation of buffers. In parallel, we also revegetated a riparian buffer on village land, again, as a kind of demonstration project, really for educational purposes, in addition to the benefits as well. The bigger lift that year was a village-wide flood study and a follow-up feasibility study, which eventually led to a $2.5 million grant from the New York State Environmental Facilities Corporation, which I'll talk about next. Next slide, please. Okay, so this was a 4-phase project. We hired a local engineering company to complete the study. And in short, it looked at topography, soil surveys, aerial imagery, and stormwater, sewer, and surface drainage studies, some of which dated back to 1934. This work hadn't been done in a while, so there was really a great need for it. It analyzed watersheds, watercourses, it ID'd problematic sites, and proposed plans either to remediate them or to study further. It included interviews with village personnel and of course field inspections, and it made recommendations related to culvert resizing, infrastructure elevations, watersheds, rivers, and utility crossings, etc. Next slide, please. One of the projects that was recommended in the study was a detention pond in a major flood-prone area of the village. This project really stood out to us on the board. I was on the board at this time, not only for its potential impact in an especially problematic area, but really because of its high feasibility, according to the study. And our engineers agreed, they recommended this. And the project proposed diverting water around a major flooding area and capturing it in a temporary detention pond supported by a drainage bypass. In other words, pipes that bypass the existing stormwater management system, which frequently was becoming overwhelmed during storm events. So this feasibility study was done for this specific project to explore the implementation details, et cetera. The project also proposed potentially using flower beds and native pollinator plantings to treat the stormwater and reduce flows and runoff, as well as recharging groundwater and filtering pollutants to improve water quality. Lastly, the feasibility plan proposed a project plan of sorts, including schedule, cost estimates, and a long-term operation and maintenance plan for the detention pond. Next slide, please. So the pond is happening. We were excited to get the grant, and we are really excited to move forward with it. The $2.5 million project will go towards implementation. It's underway. So this picture is not an actual photo of the detention pond, but a similar one, just to give you a sense of what it may look like years from now. So it will use, again, a combination of traditional and green infrastructure to divert runoff from a steep adjacent neighborhood to mitigate the persistent and destructive flooding experienced in a lower residential area. It will serve a 44-acre upstream tributary area and will treat over 2 million cubic feet of stormwater per year. So while this was just one project, it really represents 4 years of sustained work and cumulative progress in climate resilience, combining research, planning, stakeholder outreach, and coordination. And I think I would like to emphasize that it was funded in large part because of all the results of this planning work. And it was a shovel-ready project. And that was something that was, really prioritized in this grant funding program, excuse me. So next slide. So that's it. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to either myself, Sophie, or Sarah. Here's our contact information. And thank you for your interest in the climate smart communities and in building resilient communities. And now I will pass it back to Sarah.
Thank you so much, Sophie, Mary, and Sarah. So now we have a couple minutes for questions, if there are any. I see there was a note in the chat about the LRPC tool, and I think Sarah will and John are going to connect outside of this meeting.
That
Are
is
there any-
mostly because I do not know offhand. Like I said, I'm still exploring the tool, so
And that is fine.
I didn't want to give any incorrect information to anybody.
No problem. I think,
Thank you.
yes.
Thank you. I
Yes.
appreciate your help.
Thanks, John, for asking. Yeah, so I think maybe if there's no questions as of yet, I think I just wanted to ask a general question to anybody who might, want to answer this. But, Hastings-on-Hudson seems like a really great example of a community that has done a lot in a short period of time. What would you say are the key qualities or strengths maybe of that community that allowed it to be so successful with climate smart communities and moving projects forward? Is there anything you could share maybe with the other groups, communities on the call?
Yeah, great question. Thank you, Sarah. I think we have an administration that's very supportive of environmental and sustainability initiatives. So I think that has really helped. Another thing we did early on, which sounds quite specific, but it actually, I think, really made a big difference, is we separated out our Conservation Commission and our Climate Smart Communities Task Force. We originally had just had a Conservation Commission that spent a lot of time doing other work, and so never really seemed to have enough time to focus on climate smart communities. But once we created a task force as a separate entity and recruited new volunteers for that, the momentum really quickly picked up. And as I mentioned, we do have a history of environmental work and a lot of really interested residents and with kind of relevant expertise, which is really helpful as well.
Great, thank you so much for answering, Mary. I think that's helpful. So we do have another question from Marjorie Spitz. Have the changes in the current administration as it relates to grant availability and resources impacted participation in the Climate Smart Communities program?
I could speak a little bit for Long Island. So being a landmass surrounded by water on all sides, talking about the program to communities might not come down to the words climate change, but more about the effects that everybody's experiencing on a daily occurrences, sunny day flooding, for example, things like that. So we're working with a lot of communities that you would not expect would be participating in this program because resiliency is a overarching element. Now, the maybe lack of new funding that's going to be coming, we work very hard with communities to see, I don't want to say just low-hanging fruit, but it's a lot easier to get to bronze than silver. And there are a lot of things that could be done in-house that don't require extra funding. So we work with communities to get as many of those done as possible in the event that they're unable to secure outside funding. That I will say is at least my initial feeling on that.
Thanks, Sarah. I think that's helpful. All right, and I think we have to just, I think this will be the last question we'll have time for during this session, but Catherine is asking, or yes, Catherine, how large is the Hastings Pond? Were there concerns by residents that the pond would flood? Sophie or Mary, I don't know.
So it hasn't been built yet, and the size of the pond will change because when there isn't any flooding happening, it will be practically non-existent. But during flood events, it will grow. I think I don't have the exact number, but it's probably somewhere between 500 and 1,000 feet. It can get quite large. At least that's the capacity that's planned for. But we'll have to wait and see. It's on village property, so it's not on any private property, and it's in an area where flooding is not an issue. So that is helpful. That's part of the reason why we went forward with this, because it is, it's a feasible area to put the project, and the soil type is right, and the topography, and all the other factors that were evaluated in the process of in doing our feasibility study.
Great, thank you so much, Mary. So now I'm going to pass on the presentation to Jess Poonen, who is our New York State grant colleague, and she's going to be talking a little bit more about MyCoast New York. But first, I want to just ask you another question in Mentimeter. I hope you'll be able to access this now and let me know if it's not the right question. So what is your current knowledge or experience with MyCoast New York? You could just answer, so I've used it, I've heard of it, but I don't use it, or I've never heard of it before. I think it looks like so far we have people who have never heard of it before, so you're in the right place. Mrs. Jess is going to be providing information about how to access it, how to use it, and then how the information is used. So I believe we're still in the, seems like most people have never heard of it. So I'm going to pass it over to Jess to take it away.
Thanks so much, Sarah. And hi, everyone. Thanks for having me here today to talk about MyCoast, which is a free tool that can support many different facets of your resilience work. Next slide. So MyCoast New York, it's a public website and an app that functions as a database where New Yorkers can contribute and access photo reports of flooding, shoreline change, storm damage, and litter in our waterways from throughout the state. It's a partnership between New York Sea Grant and the New York State Water Resources Institute that started as a 2-year pilot. It's now been active for 3.5 years, and we plan to continue having MyCoast freely available for New Yorkers to use through 2030. It is a subscription service. There are 7 or 8 other states that currently use MyCoast in a similar way that we do, including Connecticut, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, New Jersey, Maryland. And we keep in touch with those programs and kind of, share ideas. But the great thing about it is it's very customizable. So New York has its own version that tries to meet the needs of New York specifically, because we have such varied geography across the state. So don't let the name fool you. You can also submit photos that are not coastal. And we currently have 4 photo reporting tools activated, which I'll talk about more in a moment. And today it's funded through the New York State Water Resources Institute in partnership with the DEC's Great Lakes Watershed Program and the Hudson River Estuary Program, with support from the New York State Environmental Protection Fund, the Long Island Sound Partnership, and grant funding through our FEMA Cooperating Technical Partnership and Sea Grant Marine Debris Challenge Grant. So lots of people funding this important tool. Next slide. So why are we doing this? As you heard in the earlier presentations, flood risk is increasing across the board. And we have tools like, sea level rise viewers, FEMA mapped floodplains, but photos can really help complement these existing data sets and, bring things to life for people. They help capture the impacts of flooding and storm damage, and they can also help capture places that are flooding repeatedly. And all this helps raise public awareness, and it can also be used to engage community members. And of course, there's that old saying that a picture is worth 1,000 words. Next slide. So how it works is a community member registers, they submit a photo, and MyCoast will create a report which automatically places the photo on a map and then links it with nearby environmental conditions based on the date, time, and location of the photo. So that panel on the right is kind of a readout of what you would see for each photo report. And it's just nearby weather stations, river gauge, tide data. So, it's not always 100% accurate, but it just helps build a picture of what's happening regionally. Next slide. So we have the 3 report types that I'm going to focus on today. We have the Flood Watch tool for tracking flooding across the state. That's defined very broadly as water on land that's normally dry. All types of flooding included. People have even uploaded, basement flooding to MyCoast. Storm Reporter is really for documenting other types of storm damage, that comes from wind, water, ice, snow, even fire could be included, basically any type of natural hazard. And I wanted to mention CoSnap. This tool works a little differently, but you might come across some CoSnap phone cradles depending on where you are in the state, but these are stationary cradles that allow you to take a photo of a specific spot on the shoreline. And we're using this to kind of compile that data over time and track change. We currently have 3 installed, but more are coming online, especially on Long Island, I believe, in the next year or so. And then I just want to mention really quick, I forgot to add it to this slide, but we just launched a litter watch tool for those that are more interested in tracking, marine debris, trash in our waterways. And, you can find that on the website as well. And some of the ways that intersects with flooding and storm damage. Next slide. So I'm just going to walk through what a flood report looks like. Sorry, I think my formatting got a little messed up. But these are some different photo reports in the Long Island Sound region that tie into some of the hazards and risks we've been talking about today. So this flood watch report is from a heavy rain event on September 29th, 2023 at Mamaroneck in Columbia Park. The map in the upper right shows where the photo is in yellow. And you can see that there's several other reports close by in gray. If we look at the nearby weather data for that date and time, you can see that they got 3.6 inches of rain in the previous 24 hours. The nearby stream gauge was running high. And I believe this section of the river in Mamaroneck is not tidal. Someone correct me if I'm wrong. But you can see the tidal overview there that was taken. This photo was taken shortly after high tide. And that day, the observed tide was a little higher than predicted, probably due to storm surge and runoff, a combination of the two. And then at the bottom, the photographer is listed, and you get that URL to that report. Next slide. So this is a photo someone uploaded from SUNY Maritime. Not a lot of rain that day, but they just kind of wanted to show that, hey, this walkway, you know, it's a little depression and there's flooding there. So just bringing awareness to even minor flooding issues like that is a way to use the tool. Next slide. And then, of course, we have lots of coastal flooding photos as well. This photo was taken the same time as that other storm. That was actually the day after, back in September of 2023. And you can see that this was close to high tide. Not every high tide readout will show you the observed tide compared to the predicted. It depends on what the information that the tide station has. And yeah, next slide. So how you upload a photo. This is screenshots of what the app looks like on your phone. If you were to use your phone, you would go down to the bottom and click that add report button. Then you would select the report type. For this one, I chose FloodWatch specifically. Then you would either take the photo or you'd select it from your library. We've also recently added video capabilities, so you can send in a short video of running water or something like that. I think it has to be, under 10 seconds. MyCo should automatically read in the date and time of the photo. Sometimes it doesn't do this if it's like an older photo, but you can set those manually. And then on the next screen is where it reads in the photo location on a map. And again, you can adjust that if needed. There's also an option to submit a report anonymously. Sometimes people don't want their names associated with the photos, so you would just click that little button to yes, and then submit the photo. Next slide. So, another great function of the website, it's not a feature of the app, but you can go to the website and search reports. So it's at the top of the page. You would go to the search reports page, which is circled in orange, and there'll be a map. You can zoom in on that. And then you can also filter for different reports based on the report type you're looking for, the location, the date of the event, if you're looking for a specific event, that type of things. And the filters that are starred there are the ones that I tend to use the most. And then once you are filtered to reports that you want, you have the ability to download those reports in an Excel spreadsheet, or you can also download the photos altogether. Next slide. We have resources on our website that you can use: flyers, fact sheets, newsletters, and some recordings. Next slide. And so to become a MyCoast New York volunteer, you could download the app or visit the website, register, and then you can start submitting reports right away. Next slide. So this is just a summary of what we have today in the database. Statewide, we have over 1,800 FloodWatch and Storm Reporter photos. That's that map on the left side that's smaller. And then zoomed in on Long Island, I just put the number of reports for each of the counties that border the Long Island Sound in New York and are part of the Long Island Sound study. Now, these are photo reports for each county. They're not specific to the watershed, but we'd love to see more photos coming in from the Long Island Sound side of Long Island. And I'll just note that the project originated in Jamaica Bay, Queens, and so that's why they have so many photos in there. Next slide. So just bringing it back to everything we've been talking about today, MyCoast New York can be used to support different elements of resilience planning. You can use it to help understand risk, to communicate risk with the community. You can use it to engage the community. There are different pieces of the resilience planning process where you will need to have public outreach events. And so you can use it for that to collect photos. And it can also be used in grant applications. Next slide. I know I'm coming up on time here, so I will wrap it up. So I just wanted to note one case study from Southampton, New York. We have kind of a MyCoast champion down there, Ryan Murphy. He's a code enforcement officer and emergency manager. And I just want to read the top quote for a little inspiration as just someone that really picked up the tool and ran with it and is using the photos. So in the Emergency Operations Center, we were able to view pictures of conditions in the field as soon as they are submitted. The images are also shared with the National Weather Service staff who can utilize them to verify forecasts and improve warning operations. It has enhanced our situational awareness for the town. It also allows us to benefit from a degree of crowdsourcing to obtain flooding, coastal erosion, and storm damage information throughout the town that informs planning and can be used in grant applications. Next slide. Oh, and that's all I had. So thanks so much. And yeah, if there's time for questions, I'll take them. And if not, I'll let Sarah let us know.
Yeah, I think we might have a minute or so for questions. But thank you so much, Jess. That was really helpful. Let's see. Any questions in the chat? Not seeing any right now, but I'm hoping all of you took the time to get on the website or download the app on your phone and are going to be submitting some pictures of flooding, storm damage, litter in the near future. So Jess, I do have one question for you. I know you said, this data is being used by emergency management staff, the National Weather Service. Is there any other examples or places that this information is being used that you can share?
So we've had a few, we have a few case studies we can talk about. Some community groups, for example, the Peconic Estuary Program, they've put out a call to their community on days when there's like a high tide flooding event and ask people to submit photos just to kind of capture an event and see what's happening around the bay. We have a user group in the Kettle Lakes region of New York State that is using it in their storm planning processes. And we have Tompkins County has been using it. They've been uploading historical photos and, getting ready for their upcoming hazard mitigation plan process. It's going to be hopefully part of that outreach effort. So those are just a few examples of some of the ways MyCoast is being utilized throughout the state for various planning and outreach.
Thanks, Jess. That's helpful. So we're going to be leaving these breakout rooms in about 50 seconds or so. We'll be going back to the main room. But while we are waiting to be called back, I do have one final question. So for all of you, so hearing about climate smart communities and MyCoast, what other resources could be helpful for you to pursue resilience in your community? So this is you just enter a short answer and it'll pop up on the screen. But I did want to thank Jess, Sophie, Mary, and Sarah so much for your time and being on today. I think everybody found it to be really informative